Well, welcome to Module 7 of Old Testament Foundations. By this stage, we have taken something of the journey through the book of Exodus. We've seen how God has drawn his people out of slavery in Egypt, taken them down to Mount Sinai, where he has established his covenant relationship with them as a nation. We looked last week at the book of Leviticus, and we saw how God, not only having established for them the whole system of religious observance and worship with the tent tabernacle and the establishment of a priesthood, but then God goes on to instruct them about how they are to engage in this relationship with God through their sacrificial system, a system that was far more than just a religious system. At the very heart of it was their relationship with the living God, Yahweh. But today we go on now to look at the book of Numbers, and we see the rest of the journey. In fact, it forms something of a travel journal for the nation of Israel as they finally leave Sinai and make their way toward the promised land. As we take this journey with them, we will see how God initially organises them as his people. There are specific instructions given as to how the camp is to be set out each time they come to another place to stop and to rest, and before they move on with the next leg of the journey. Not only that, but we see that God wants to sanctify them. He wants them to be set apart clearly before they even embark upon the journey. And so there is this whole process once again of celebrating this wonderful feast of the Passover before they will leave. But then as we follow the journey, we follow the nation of Israel, this in one sense ragtag nation that has been formed down in the desert now. And they make their way all the way up to a place called Kadesh Barnea before they would enter into the promised land. And yet even in the journey we see that God is continually providing for his people. He provides for them in terms of the provision of meat in the form of quail. He provides bread for them in the form of manna. He repeatedly provides water for them. And yet even in the face of all of this extraordinary provision of God, we will see that the people relentlessly begin to complain and moan against both God and against Moses. And again, as God continues to make his provision, the next thing we find the people fall back into this woeful habit of endless complaining against God. When they finally get up to Kadesh Barnea, they send in the 12 spies. And as the 12 spies go in, there is perhaps a great sense of anticipation of all that might lie ahead for them in this promised land. But upon their return, 10 of the spies give a very ominous report. They say that the land is filled with giants. There is no way that they can possibly go in to take possession of the land. Only two of the 12 spies return with a positive report, Joshua and Caleb, who assure the people that they are well able to go in and take this land because God is on their side. This is the God who continually provides. And yet the people decided that they would actually go with the 10 rather than with the 2. They rejected the possibility of entering into the promised land, and in consequence of their rebellion, they would spend the next 38 years wandering around in the wilderness, basically going nowhere. And during all of these long years, we see yet again God's continual provision for the people in terms of their physical needs day by day. And yet, in the face of all of that, we find this relentless tendency for the people to whinge, to moan and complain about their circumstance. Until ultimately, after almost 40 years now since they've left the land of Egypt, they begin to make their way up toward the promised land, this time around the eastern side of the Dead Sea. They'll come up and try to make their entry through the land of Edom, the descendants of Esau, and they will be refused passage, and so they'll have to skirt the land of the Edomites. And they come up to the plains of Moab, and even coming to the plains of Moab, which are just to the eastern side of the Dead Sea, we find that the enemy is still out to get them. And so a fellow by the name of Balaam is brought in to try and curse the people of God. But for his every attempt to curse the people of God, these are the people of God. These are the ones that God has his hand on, regardless of how broken and fallen they may be. And so finally the children of Israel make their way up to the plains of Moab, where we will go on to see in the next few weeks, where God rehearses for a new generation the law which was originally given to Moses right back in Egypt. We'll come to the book of Deuteronomy, the second giving of the law for a new generation. For indeed, throughout their 40 years of wilderness wandering, a whole generation would die out and a new generation would come up. But in the midst of all of this, we then want to look at some of the deeper theological themes that emerge from this fascinating and fabulous book. Not only that, but we also want to cast our minds ahead, and we want to begin to look at 1 Corinthians 10, the first 14 verses, which actually take this particular story and use it to drive home a powerful, powerful message to the people of God of the very first century. And indeed, there is a message surely for us in the 21st century as well. Well, I trust that you'll enjoy the journey as we follow through God's gracious and faithful leading of his people, even during all of the years of wilderness wanderings in the book of Numbers.